Yeah, good evening, children. Good evening.
Good
Good
evening,
evening,
ma'am.
Good evening, children. Yeah, I've shared my screen. Is it visible to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Uh, I have already shared the pre-work for the chapter trigonometry. But since some of our friends will be joining us only from 22nd February, because exams are still going on in their school, their last exam, they'll be finishing the exams for Standard 9 only on 22nd Feb. So I'm not starting off with trigonometry because I want all of us to be present when we get started with that chapter. So though I have shared the pre-work of the chapter trigonometry, in today's class and the class on Saturday, we'll be doing statistics. If I'll be continuing with statistics or if I'll start trigonometry on Thursday, I cannot say now. All right. But what I can tell you at this point is that for today's class on Saturday's class, that is 15th Feb and 17th Feb, we'll be doing statistics. Yeah. So as every teacher, begins a session, statistics. This chapter was already introduced to you in Standard 9, right? So you understand the definition of this term statistics. You can see it on the screen. It's a branch of mathematics that deals with the collection, organization, analysis, and interpretation of data, of raw data. Don't write anything now. You will be instructed. If you have to write, you will be instructed. Otherwise, you simply have to listen. Yeah. So that is statistics. That's a definition of statistics. It's a branch of mathematics that deals with the collection, organization, analysis, and interpretation of raw data. Now, data we've seen is of two types, right? Primary data and secondary data. First-hand data is primary data. Second-hand data is secondary data. So again, you've seen this last year, so I'm not going into the details. I'll be sharing this with you later on WhatsApp. You can read and recall. Okay, first-hand data is primary data. Data which is, already collected and saved, and you fetch that data. So you personally don't go and collect the data. You retrieve, you get the data from a source where it is already stored. That is secondary data. Primary data is first-hand data. You visit, different people or whatever the task is about, whatever the experiment is about. So you visit students of, some school or whatever the experiment is about. And if you collect the details of the students, you visit the students in person and you collect the data, then it's primary. But if you get the details of the students from the records in the school, then that is secondary data. All right. So that's about primary data and secondary data. So what are we seeing in these slides? You can see the four terms, right? You can see collection, organization, analysis, and interpretation, right? Collection. So that's what it is here. Collection of data. Collection of data. Data collected can be primary data or secondary data. Primary data, secondary data. So this is collection, organization. So after the data is collected, the data is organized using distributions, frequency distributions. So it can be a grouped frequency distribution or ungrouped frequency distribution, depending on the data. So depending on the data collected, the statistician will decide if that data needs to be presented using an ungrouped frequency distribution or a grouped frequency distribution. All right. So that was the second thing. So collecting data, primary data, secondary data, organizing the data collected using a grouped frequency distribution or an ungrouped frequency distribution, depending on the nature of the data. So now ungrouped in simple words is without using class intervals. Frequency distribution without using class intervals is an ungrouped frequency distribution. Grouped frequency distribution is a frequency distribution involving class intervals. If it does not involve class intervals, it's ungrouped. If it involves class intervals, it is grouped. All right. That's the major difference between ungrouped frequency distribution and grouped frequency distribution. Ungrouped frequency distribution does not involve class intervals. Grouped frequency distribution involves class intervals. So like you say, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, right? So let's just see an example how the table will look like. So if you say blood group and number of people. Okay, so we have in the frequency distribution, say we have these two columns, blood group and number of people, right? In our distribution, in our frequency distribution, or in the table which we have prepared out of the data collected, if we have made these two columns, blood group and number of people, so out here you have A, B, and O. All right, or you can make it more specific, like okay, you can make it more specific. A positive, A negative, B positive, B negative, AB positive, AB negative, then O positive, O negative, right? So these are the 8 different blood groups we have. Blood type, we have 4. Blood group, we have 8. Blood type is O, A, B, AB. Okay. So, like this, A plus, say like whatever, like 25, A negative, so some 10, B positive, 5, B negative. So like this, you have some numbers against every blood group. Yeah, so this is a frequency distribution showing the number of people against the respective blood group. So the statistician has, collected, say like from 100 people. So the statistician has collected data regarding the blood group from a set of 100 people. He might have personally, tested it, or might have collected it from some source where it was already stored. So the data can be primary or secondary. So he makes this frequency distribution with these two columns. So this one is an ungrouped because there are no class intervals here. So it's an ungrouped frequency distribution because we don't see class intervals. Now, supposing you have marks and number of students. So say in a test out of 20 marks, in a class, okay, children have scored only these marks. So some of them have got 4, otherwise they've got 10 or say 12 or 19, supposing, okay. In a class, in some particular test out of 20, say students have scored these marks. Either they've got 4, 10, 12 or 19. So for a data like this, you don't need class intervals. you can directly write the mark scored. You don't need class intervals because these are the only 4 different marks scored by the students of the class. So say some 10 students have got 4 marks each, 5 have scored 15, okay, 18 have scored 12 marks, and 2 of them have scored 19 marks. So the total number of students in this class, 18, 20, 30, 35 students. So you don't need class intervals here. Okay, so that's about organization, organizing the data using a grouped or an ungrouped frequency distribution. So what's after the organization? Analysis. So how do you analyze the data? So now you have presented, or the statistician has presented the data accordingly using whichever distribution, grouped or ungrouped. Now next is he has to analyze the data, right? He has to analyze the data. Okay, so analysis of data is done using the 3 measures of central tendency, which again you've seen in standard 9, mean, median, and mode. Mean, median, and mode. Mean, median, and mode are the 3 measures of central tendency. Mean, median, and mode are the 3 measures of central tendency. Now, these are the 3 methods adopted by a statistician to analyze the data. He might use all the 3 or one of the 3 or 2 of the 3. So that depends again on the nature of the data collected. Sometimes you have to use the median, sometimes only mode, or sometimes mean. So whatever, again, that depends on the data. So analysis is done by finding out the mean, median, or mode for that data. All right, so these are the 3 methods of analyzing the data: using mean, using median, or using mode. All right. Now, once he finds the value of median, value of mean, value of mode, the statistician can interpret the data. So then he comes to conclusions. Okay, interpretation is concluding, coming to whatever conclusion. So see, the statistician has had some objective in mind when he collected the data, right? So whatever objective he had in his mind, based on that, he'll come to conclusions. So to come to that conclusion, he needs to analyze using mean, median, or mode. So once he gets the value of mean, median, or mode, so like supposing it's about the weight, he's collected the weight of a set of 100 students. So he would have found the mean weight or medial weight or modal weight. So if the statistician had collected data regarding the weights of 100 students, then he can find the mean weight using the formula to find mean, or the medial weight using the formula to find the median, or the modal weight, okay, using the formula to find mode. So using these values, he will interpret the data, that is, come to conclusions. So this is what is statistics all about: collecting data, organizing the data collected using frequency distributions, analyzing the data using mean, median, or mode, and based on the value obtained, interpreting the data or giving conclusions is what statistics is all about. And in standard 10, we will learn how to find mean using 2 methods, median and mode using only 1 method. Everything is formula based, like volumes and surface areas. Everything is formula based. You have a formula to find mean, then fix the values for the variables in the formula and calculate. That's all it's all about. So for mean, we had 3. One is deleted. So mean, you will learn how to calculate mean using 2 methods. Median, one formula. Mode, one formula. That's all. And we are done with statistics. So these images I'll share on WhatsApp by tomorrow morning. Maybe today after the session, or at meaning if very late, then by tomorrow morning. And instructions regarding what you should do with that will be sent on WhatsApp. We'll not discuss that in the session and spend time. Yeah. So the other things you can read. I have not, like explained everything here, but the other things you can really read and recall. All right. Okay. Yeah, this is very important. This is very important. The empirical relationship. Empirical meaning the experimental. Experimental. Empirical meaning experimental. Relationship between mean, median, and mode. Experimental or empirical relationship between the 3 measures of central tendency. Mean, median, and mode are the 3 measures of central tendency. And this is the connection between them. Mode is equal to 3 median minus 2 mean. So when to use this? Now for a 1 mark question, if you're given the value of mode and the value of mean, and you have to find the median. So the table is not given to you. The frequency distribution is not given to you. They'll say for a particular distribution, if mode is this value, mean is this value, then what is the median? So you'll have to use this relationship, substitute the values given, and find the value of the unknown. So given any 2, you can find the third one using this relationship. Given any 2 values, there are 3 values, right? So given the value of any 2 of them, you can find the third one using this relationship. Yeah, children, use the emoji, raise your hand. Use the raise hand option and raise your hand, children. Blessy, Swati, Mritsa, Aniruddhan, Sadhana, Sabarna, Aragamai, Niveda, Jayvarshini, Prenu, Nakshata. All right. Thank you, children. Yep. Yes. Now look at the second column, this part. Look at this part, children. Mean for a grouped frequency distribution. All right. So we have 2 methods, direct method and assume mean method. This is removed from your syllabus. This is removed from your syllabus. All right. So we are going to talk only about these 2. Children, my screen is visible, right? I've presented the screen right from the beginning of the session. Visible to all of you, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. All right, children. So this is removed from the syllabus. So look at this one and this one. So mean we can find using the direct method or the assumed mean method. So when to use the direct method, when to use the assumed mean method, we'll see when we take up a question. You can, meaning both the methods will give exactly, precisely the same answer. Answer will be the same. Assume, so when to use assume mean method? When will that be useful? When will the direct method be useful? We'll see that when we take up questions. So direct method, the formula is, so X bar is a symbolic way of representing mean. X bar, small x, not capital X. small x bar normally, but sometimes in textbooks we also see this. So don't ask me. So conventionally it is small x bar. So now there are few changes here and there. So, you know, so conventionally it is a small x and a bar placed over it, x bar. All right. So x bar, this is how it's read, x bar, x bar. All right. So x bar, which means mean. When we say x bar, find x bar means find mean. It's a symbolic way of writing mean. So mean is equal to x bar is equal to sigma, Greek letter sigma, like we have English letters A, B, C, D and all that. So this is sigma, Greek letter, pronounced, written sigma like this, pronounced sigma. This is lowercase sigma. This is uppercase sigma. So like in English, we also have lowercase, letters in Greek. We have lowercase and uppercase letters. So this is the uppercase sigma. And this is lowercase. Okay. So now what does sigma stand for? What does it mean? What does this symbol mean in statistics? It means total of or summation or total of something. Sigma means total of something, total of some column. Summation, adding the sum of a set of values. Okay, so sigma fi xi. So f, frequency column. X is like you have the class marks and you will find the you have the class interval. Sorry, I said class mark by mistake. You have the class intervals and you will find the class marks. That is the mid value of every class interval. See, you will have two columns, right? The first column class intervals and second column frequency. So now when you have to find a mean, we'll generate this column with the heading X, wherein we'll write the mid value or the class mark of every class interval. All right. In the question, we'll be given two columns, class intervals and frequency. Now to find mean, we have to generate a column with a heading X. Now in that X column, what values to write? You should write the mid value of every class interval given in the question. So the mid value is also called class mark or mid value of the class interval. That's what you will have in the X column. It's also called xi. See, X and F only are xi and fi. X column is the column containing the class marks of the class intervals. Class interval means 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30. These are class intervals. Class mark is one number, like for 0 to 10. The mid value is 0 plus 10, 10 by 2, 5. The class mark for the class interval 10 to 20, 10 to 20 is 10 plus 20, 30 by 2, 15. So it is the lower limit plus the upper limit divided by 2. Lower limit plus the upper limit divided by 2. Lower limit meaning lower class limit, upper class limit. This is the lower class limit. This is the upper class limit. This is the class interval. This is the class interval. This is the lower class limit. This is the upper class limit. Now add 10 plus 20, 30 divided by 2, 15 is the class mark of this class interval. So like this, we will have to find the class marks of the various class intervals in the question and write that under the xi column. All right. Then you will generate another column called the fi xi column. See, you already have the frequency column in the question. The question will already have the, see, I can explain this using a question, but now you can test yourself if when I explain verbally like this, you're able to understand. Otherwise, I can easily do this. I can just show a question and then tell you, see, it's like this. But this is just to check. I'm not checking. You're checking yourself because I don't know, how much I'm reaching you. So you can judge yourself. Okay, so I will not know the result. So I'm saying in the question, you will have two columns, class intervals and frequency. That frequency is only the FI column. That's already there in the question. Then where is the XI column that we would have generated? While doing the answer, we'll generate that XI column. Now we have two columns, XI and FI. Now next we'll generate another column called the FI XI column, FI XI. So what values we'll write there? We'll multiply F1, X1. Okay, so like this is the FI column, this is the XI column. So you have some numbers. I'm just writing something here, like, and here say like we have 5, 15, 25, 35, and so on. So FI XI would be, this is F1, this is F1, this is X1, this is F2, X2, F3, X3, F4, X4, and so on. Right? So we multiply these two. 5 4s are 20. That will come in the FI XI column. 5 15s are 75. Then 7 into 25, 175, and so on. So you will generate a column called the FI XI column. The total of that FI XI column is called sigma FI XI. That's the meaning of sigma FI XI. So FI XI is a column. FI XI is a column, and in that column you will have the products. You will have the products. What product you will have? F1 into X1. That answer will be there. F2 into X2. F3 into X3. All right. So the total of that column is called sigma FI XI. The total of that column is called sigma FI XI. And the total of the FI column is called sigma FI. So if you have to find the mean using the direct method, the formula is X bar is equal to sigma FI XI, the total of the FI XI column, by sigma FI, the total of the FI column. So that's how we find mean by the direct method. Then you can see here, assume mean method, X bar is equal to A plus sigma FI DI by sigma FI. So now you understand what is sigma FI DI. That means there is a column FI DI. So now we'll see how to generate that column. We'll see later. So there is a column FI DI. Total of that column, that answer is sigma FI DI divided by sigma FI. So the total of the FI DI column by the total of the FI column is this one. A plus sigma FI DI by sigma FI, where A stands for assumed mean. Assumed mean. Assumed mean. And DI stands for the deviations. It stands for deviations. Deviations of the values from the assumed mean. Now, I'll just take up a question. We'll see the formula to find the median and mode also today, but we'll just take up a question. So children, these things, merits of arithmetic mean, demerits will not be discussed in the class. So that's for you to read and remember, like you're not asked theory questions, but you can just give it a reading just in case, you might need it sometime. Yeah, so all this will be shared. So on WhatsApp, all this will be shared. All this you saw today. So this one we are not discussing, so you will give it a reading. Merits and demerits of mean, median, and mode. All right. Yeah. So we'll start from the simplest one. So this is the most basic question. actually of 8th standard, but now with the deleted portions and all that, I don't know if this is taught in 8th. So it's actually of 8th standard, 9th now. So we should start from the scratch so that we recall, So this is the very basic or elementary question that can be asked about mean. So find the mean of the following distribution. So now tell me, what kind of a frequency distribution is this? What name will you give this frequency distribution? Yes. The question is for you. Please answer.
Ungrouped frequency table.
Yeah, Swati, correct. So this one is an ungrouped frequency distribution because it does not involve class intervals. You can see the frequency. You can see the frequencies. F. See, I told you it can be Xi or Fi or simply X and F. All mean the same. And now I said column all the while. Now don't ask me now, this is a row. So anyways, it can be presented. It can be Xi, X and F like this, columns or rows like this, X and F rows like this. So I think I'm used to saying Xi column, Fi column. All right. This question is like this in rows, but when we answer, we'll put a column only because it's more comfortable. So see, the answer is using columns. Yeah. So now this one is an ungrouped frequency distribution. See, frequency distribution because you can see the frequency, row there. You can see the frequencies here. All right, so it is a frequency distribution and it is ungrouped because we have the X values straight away. We don't have the class intervals. So it's an ungrouped frequency distribution. So how to find mean? So see here. So children, see, this is given in the question, children. So this is X. You can also write Xi. Now they're not different. Now don't get confused. X and Xi, they're not different. X, Xi, both are the same. F, Fi, both are the same. All right. Okay, so this Xi is given in the question. Fi is also given in the question. Just write it. Now you have to create the Fi Xi column. So how do you create that Fi Xi column? Multiplying Fi Xi. 5 4s are 20. 10 into, because this is Fi, this Xi, no? So 10 into 6, 60. 10 into 9, 90. I hope you understand. Then 7 into 10, 70. 8 into 15, 120. So we found the products. Fi Xi is a product. Fi into Xi. So we generated the values in the Fi-Xi column. Now we need to find sigma Fi-Xi. That is the total of the Fi-Xi column. The total of the Fi-Xi column, 360. Then we need to find the total of the Fi column, not Xi column, Fi column, 40. Now the formula to find mean is X bar is equal to sigma Fi-Xi by sigma Fi, 360 by 40, which is 9. So it's not mandatory that you get, a whole number like this for mean. You can get anything. It can be a terminating decimal, non-terminating decimal, whatever it can be. Can be anything. It'll be positive. It will be positive. All right. So it can be, so not that you should get a number like 9, a whole number like 9, can be any value. So this is how we compute mean for an ungrouped frequency distribution. So it's very easy. We have Xi, we have we have the Xi values, we have the Fi values. We just need to create one more column, Fi-Xi, total of the Fi-Xi column, total of the Fi column, divide and mean. Yeah, all of you lower your hands and raise your hands if you understood this. Lower your hands, Niveda and Aniruddhan. Raise your hands again. If you have a question, please ask me at this point. Online sessions are interactive. You should ask. I'll keep talking. But once I stop and I ask you if you have any questions, please ask. Okay, Akshada, you have a doubt? Sadhna, Sabarna? What's your question, Akshada? Sadhna and Sabarna?
No doubts, ma'am. No doubt, ma'am.
All right. All right, children. So this is how we find mean for an ungrouped frequency distribution. We'll come to this. We'll come to this. Now we'll just take up Yeah. Converting. Yeah. Now look at this question. There is a question for you. Now this part of the class is for me to do something. Now, I think around 9 o'clock, I'll put you with 2 questions. So if you have any doubts, please ask me. Because if everything is clear, then all of you should give me the right answer. Now here in this question, find the mean age. Find the mean age. That means you should find mean for the following frequency distribution using direct method, assume mean method. Please ignore wherever you see, because this is an old presentation of mine, so I have not removed, I will not remove also step deviation method. So we'll just ignore it because it's not a part of your syllabus now. So direct method and assume mean method. Find mean age. Why mean age? Because the data is about the age of so many people. Just add up all this, you will know how many people. Now, you can see, now look at the class intervals. Look at the class intervals. Who can recall the 2 types of class intervals we have? Class intervals are of 2 types. Class intervals are of 2 types. What are the 2 types of class intervals? That is frequency distribution. Frequency distribution is of 2 types, grouped and ungrouped, involving class intervals, not involving class intervals. Class intervals are of 2 types. Class intervals are of 2 types. We've seen this in 9th standard. What are the 2 types of class intervals? Okay, so class intervals of the inclusive form, exclusive form. Inclusive form, exclusive form. Inclusive form is continuous class intervals. Exclusive form is discontinuous class intervals. Class intervals are of 2 types, inclusive form and exclusive form. Inclusive means, oh, sorry, I made a mistake with writing, sorry. So inclusive form meaning discontinuous class intervals. Exclusive form meaning continuous class intervals. So I'll give you an example. Now, what you see here in this question, what you see here is inclusive form. Is inclusive form because it's not continuous. There is a break here, 5 to 14. 15 to 24, it doesn't continue with 14, no? It doesn't continue with 14. 5 to 14, okay. Then 15 to 24. Then again break, 25 to 34. Like after 24, it's 25. So there's a break here. In this question, the frequency distribution is of the inclusive form or discontinuous form, discontinuous class intervals. The class intervals are not continuous. Now, this is an example of class intervals of the exclusive form. Now, if you have, say, 25 to 30, 30 to 35, 35 to 40, 40 to 45, 45 to 50 and so on. Can you see the class intervals are continuous? 25 to 30, it continues from there. 30 to 35 continues. 35 to 40, 40 to 45, there's no break. Continuous class intervals. Why are they called exclusive and inclusive? Inclusive means if the upper limit is also included in the same class intervals. If the upper limit of a class interval is included in the same class interval, it is inclusive form. If the upper limit of a class interval is excluded from that class interval, it is exclusive form. We'll understand that better. See here. See here. Now look at this. Look at these class intervals. Now when you take 5 and 14, this 14, no? 14, the upper limit 14 belongs to the same class interval. When you put tally marks, where will you put the tally mark for 14? In 5 to 14. The upper limit 14 is, somebody's mic is enabled, disable your mic. Don't make that mistake at all. Yeah, so so if you have to put tally marks, and you have this number 14, where will you put? Against the class interval 5 to 14. Supposing you have 54. 54 is included in the same class interval 45 to 54. If the upper limit of a class interval is included in the same class interval, it is inclusive form. Such class intervals are not continuous. They are not continuous. See, you can see they're not continuous, no? Because after 54, it doesn't continue with 54. It's 55 to 64. So you understand that? I don't want to talk more. So what you see here in this question is a frequency distribution of the inclusive form, wherein the class intervals are of inclusive form. Inclusive, exclusive is related to the class intervals. Frequency distribution, we have two types, grouped and ungrouped. Class intervals, we have two types, continuous, discontinuous, or exclusive, inclusive. But when you look at these set of class intervals, the upper limit 30 is not included here. It is included in the lower limit of the next class interval. If you have to put a tally mark for 30, you will not put it here. You will not put it here. You will put it here. If the upper limit of a class interval belongs to the lower limit of the next class interval, then it is continuous or exclusive form, because the upper limit is excluded from that class interval. Excluded means not included. So the definitions are as simple as this. It's only about the upper limit, because the lower limit is always included in the same class interval. The lower limit is always included in the same class interval. We're talking the differences with respect to the upper limit. So if the upper limit is included in the same class interval, inclusive form. If the upper limit is not included in the same class interval, that means it's excluded. It's not included in the same class interval. That means it's excluded from that class interval. So it belongs to the next class interval. That is exclusive form. So if the class intervals are of exclusive form, they are continuous. If they are of inclusive form, they are not continuous. So now see here. 14, the upper limit 14 belongs to the same class interval 5 to 14. It's included in the same class interval, inclusive form. And the class intervals are, you can see, not continuous. Because after 5 to 14, we have 15 to 24. There's a break. There's a gap between 14 and 15. So it's not continuous. If you see this class interval, see the class intervals here. See the class intervals here. 0 to 6, 6 to 10, 10 to 14, 14 to 20. So there is no gap. 0 to 6, 6 to 10, 10 to 14, 14 to 20. So you can see there's no gap. So the class intervals are continuous. So what happens here? The upper limit 6 is not included in this class interval. It belongs to the next class interval. So 0 to 6, 6 to 10, 10 to 14. Supposing you have the value 10, you will not put a tally mark here. You will put it here. The tally mark will be here because 10 is not a part of this one. It's a part of this one. So you will put the tally mark here. Okay. So that's about the types of class intervals: inclusive form, exclusive form, inclusive, not continuous, exclusive, continuous. So I'll share the material. You can read and, like, you need to repeat in order to remember. Second. Yeah. Now let's see how to find. Okay. Yeah, I had presented this question. I'm back there. So we have a frequency distribution. All right. Where the class intervals are not continuous. So the class intervals are of the inclusive form. They're not continuous. Now you need to find the mean for this data. For this frequency distribution, you need to find the mean age. So we're going to work using both the methods, direct method and the assume mean method. Okay, so we'll see the answer. See here. Can you see direct method? Class intervals as given in the question we have written, and frequencies as given in the question. See, okay. So when the class intervals are given, don't call that the xi column. The class marks will be called the xi column. This is the class interval column. So this one is given in the question. This column is given in the question. This one is also given in the question. So we write that, and then we generate these two columns. We generate these two columns. The xi column and the fi xi column. So how do we generate the xi column? The class mark 5 plus 14. 5 plus 14 divided by 2. 5 plus 14 divided by 2. 19 by 2. 9.5. Okay, next. 15 plus 24 divided by 2. 29 by 2. 19.5. See, once you know the rhythm, then you don't have to find everything. You can just follow that rhythm. What is the rhythm here? So we got 9.5, then 19.5. So the next one will be 29.5, 39.5, 49.5, 59.5. Because the class intervals, they have a uniform width. See this, you can follow the rhythm. See, if the class intervals are like this, like supposing 0 to 10, then 10 to 30, then some 30 to 55. This will not have a rhythm because you can see the gap keeps changing. 0 to 10, then 10 to 30, 30 to 55. The gap, the class width is not the same. So here, if you get 9.5 for the first one and 19.5, you can't write 29.5, 39.5. No. If the class intervals have a uniform width, if the class intervals follow a rhythm, then xi also will follow that rhythm. So rhythm I'm saying is like if the class width is the same, like in here 5 to 14, 15 to 24, 25 to 34. You can see here 5, 15, 25, 35, 45, 55, 14, 24, 34, 44, 54, 64. But then you can just find 2 of it and then follow that rhythm and complete the others. So xi column is class mark, upper limit plus lower limit by 2. So get all the xi values, then find the fi xi column. Find the values in the fi xi column. So you'll have to multiply this into this, this into this, this into this, and write the answer here. Multiply these two, write the answer here. Multiply these two, write the answer here. So like that. fi xi. And the formula needs the total of the fi xi column and the total of the fi column. So divide, and this is the mean. So this is the mean age. So what do we understand? Mean age is 34.87 years. That means on an average, the age of every member in this particular data is 34.87 years. Every member in this, okay, so here we have these people. No, what was the total of this? 80. So we have 80 people here. We have 80 people here. So the mean age, meaning on an average, every person in this data is 34, around 35 years old. Is around 35 years old. Okay, so this is how we find mean by the direct method. Now using the assumed mean method. Assume mean method. Same question, how to find mean using the assumed mean method. All right. So these two columns are given to us in the question. Class intervals frequencies given to us in the question, right? So we need to generate this xi column, which you already know. Class mark, lower limit plus upper limit by 2. So generate the xi column. Now you need to find the fi di column here. Using the assume mean method, you need to generate the fi di column. That means you need the di, you need di values. To find fi di values, you need the di values. So how do you find di values? So di is given by xi minus a. Xi minus a. What is xi? All these values. Xi. Okay, xi we know. Minus a. What is a? A is called the assumed mean. Assumed mean. And okay, so assumed mean meaning you assume something as the mean. That's what it really means. You assume something as the mean. That's what it really means. Okay, so from where to assume the mean? Meaning from which set of values to assume the mean? From the xi values. From the xi values. Not from the frequencies, not from this, not from this. So assumed mean, as the name says, you assume anything from the xi column as the mean. That's what it means. So xi column, what are the values? You have 9.5, 19.5, 29.5, 39.5, 49.5, 59.5. Any one of these values you can take as the assumed mean. Any one you can take. But which is preferred? Correct. Anything you can take from the xi column. You can pick any one value and keep that as the assumed mean. But there's always a preference, no? Which one? So the preference is choose the middlemost value. Choose the middlemost value, like see here, slash the first and the last one, the second and the one before that. If you slash these two, then there's nothing in the middle, right? So from these two values, any one of these two values, any one of these two values is the assumed mean. You can take this as the assumed mean or this as the assumed mean. Now the question is, what if I take a different value? What if I take this one as assumed mean? Will my answer be different? No. You can take any one of the xi value as the assumed mean. All of you will get the same answer, exactly the same answer you will get. So the answer will not change because you have taken a different value for A. Yeah, You will not get the correct answer if you take A from FI column. If you take A from FI column, you will not get the correct answer. So because A is picked from the XI column, all these only you should remember. These things you must remember, because you can make this mistake of choosing A from the FI column. We know everything, but by mistake, we have not registered in the examination. You're confused. A from which column to pick, XI or FI? So then suddenly you will think, okay, second column lenda nam choose pannirkom idu varaikum, but second column here is FI. See, some vague remembrance, you will think, okay, from the second column I picked, and you will pick from here. So you should never take a chance. So these things you should register very clearly. A is picked from the XI column. So this is the XI column. Don't remember like that second column, third column, fourth column, not like that. XI column. So from here, anybody can be A, but we prefer to choose the middlemost value or one among the middlemost value. So here you have two values in the middle, right? So you can take this one or this one. So here in this working, I have taken 39.5. So I've taken this as A. All right. Now find the DI column. So what is the order? Like I've been telling all this. No, so what's the order? The order is make the table, write class intervals, then write frequencies. All this is given in the question. Then when it is mean, you should always find the XI column. That is the class marks. What after this? If you're doing the assumed mean method, you should create one more column called the DI column. How to create the values in the DI column? First, you must choose A. First, you must choose A. Okay, we have chosen A. Next, what? Now, in the DI column, you'll have to find the DI values. And how do you find that? XI minus A. So, see here, XI minus A. This XI, no, minus A. Minus A means minus A 39.5. 19.5 minus 30. What is XI? 9.5. Minus 39.5, which is A. Minus 39.5. The XI value minus A, that is 39.5. That answer you should write here. Minus 39.5. Minus 39.5. Minus 39.5. You don't have to show the subtraction. You can just subtract and write the answer. So you can see here, this is the XI value minus A, which we have selected as 39.5. So 9.5 minus 39.5 is minus 30. Then next, XI minus A, 19.5 minus 39.5. Don't do the other way. Don't do 39.5 minus 9.5. The order is important. XI minus A. So like this, you should generate the DI values. 39.5 minus 39.5 is 0. Then 49.5 minus 39.5 is 10. So each XI value minus A, assuming, will give you the DI values. Now we are ready. Now we'll have to find the FI DI column. So FI DI we know. See here, multiply this and this one. Minus 180. FI DI. FI DI minus 210. FI DI 0. FI DI 140. FI DI 102. All right. So like this, finding the products, we complete the FI DI column. Now the formula says X bar is equal to A plus sigma FI DI. Oh, we have to find sigma FI DI. So what is that? The total of the FI DI column. So find the total of the FI DI column by the total of the FI column. Total of the FI column. A plus sigma FI DI by sigma FI. So use the values in the formula and calculate. So you can see 39.5 plus sigma FI DI is minus 370. So you can see a minus 370 by 80. So 370, see that cancelling you will not see in the presentation, children. So the simplification part you have to do. So 0 and 0 gets cancelled. Then 37 by 8 is 4.625. Plus into minus, minus. Plus into minus, minus. 37 by 8 is 4.625. And 39.5 minus 4.625 is 34.875, which is the mean age. Yeah. So this is how we find mean using the assumed mean method. So you should remember like a story. When we have to find mean, if there are class intervals, first step is to generate the xi column. That is the class marks, the mid values of the class intervals. That's the first thing. Then based on the formula, if you're using the assume mean method, next you'll have to generate the di column, because the fi column is given in the question. What new you have to do? Xi and then di. How to find di? To generate the values in the di column, you should first find a. From which column A? From the xi column. Which value? Preferably the middlemost value. Then find di using xi minus a. Every xi value minus a. Minus that assume mean will give the di values. After this, look, think of the formula. What do you have in the formula? Sigma fi di. So you should multiply the fi value with the corresponding di value. Not fi xi here. Fi di. Then find the total of that column, fi di column, the total of the fi column, and put the values in this formula to find the mean. Yeah, if you have understood this, lower your hands, all of you, and raise your hands again. Okay. Okay, so all of you say that you have understood. All right. All right, children. So I think I will not explain median today, because then I cannot, give you this test now. So we'll start with understanding mean. So now I'll put you with the question. Give you some time to work, and I want all of you to work it carefully so that you get it correctly. You can't work correctly. If you work carefully, then you will work it correctly. So work carefully. So for that, you need to first take a screenshot of this one so that you have the formula with you. Yeah, or if you take a picture of this, if you have a phone, you can take a photo, or if you can capture a screenshot, do it for the formula. Or if you're not able to do any of the two, write down the formula now. I'll wait for 2 minutes, quickly write down the formula. This one, and this one. Direct method and this one. The first and second. Yeah. Hope it's done. Just a second. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, Chinnu. Here's your question. For the given inclusive series, find mean using all three methods, but we have learned only two methods, right? So 63 to 70, 70 to 77, 77 to 84. Yeah. So you need to find the mean using the direct method and the assumed mean method. Yeah, please start working. So you should write out these two columns, class intervals and frequency. Class intervals and Fi. Then you should create the Xi column. You should find the mid values of the class intervals. You should find the Xi column. Then for direct method, find Fi Xi. Then use the formula. For assume mean method, find Di, then Fi Di. Yeah. I'll come back in less than 10 minutes. Children, do the assume mean method first. Because what if we don't have time to do both the methods? I want you to do it using the assumed mean method first. I think we'll have time only for this. Find mean using assumed mean method. All right, I'll just get back in about 10 minutes. Please work. Yeah, unshared my screen. Can you see my screen now, children? No, right? My screen is not shared. Correct? Yeah, okay. Fine. Now, is Srivatsan there? Are you there, Srivatsan? No. Okay, who's there? Well, let me ask Prenu. Prenu, tell me the XI values. Read out all your XI values, Prenu. Why? What happened? Okay, Sabarna or Sadhana?
66,
Yeah.
73, 80, 87, 94.
No. 1 minute. You said 66. That's all. 66.
Actually, after that, I don't know what to do. Should we
No.
add 0.5?
Yeah, 66.5. No. When you add 63 and 70, what do you get? 133 by 2. What is 133 by 2? 66.5. Let me ask Akshada, I think. Okay, Akshada. XI values?
Ma'am, Prenu.
Yeah, Prenu, tell me.
Ma'am, 66.5, 73.5, 80.5, 87.5, 94.5, 101.5, 108.5.
Very good. Perfect. Very good. Okay, Swati, what have you taken as A? Thank you, Prenu. Swati, what is your A value?
80.5, ma'am.
80.5. Okay.
Yes.
Who has taken 87.5 as A? Has anyone taken 87.5 as A?
Yes, ma'am, taken.
Who's that?
Ma'am, Prenu.
Okay, Prenu. Okay, then anyone else has taken 87.5? Aniruddhan?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Anyone else has taken 87.5? Okay, so Prenu, what are the values under the DI column? This will slightly be different if if you've taken a different value for A. But let me just check if my values and Prenu's values matches. Yes, Prenu, tell me the DI values.
Yes, ma'am. Minus 21, minus 14, minus 7, 0, 7, 14, 21.
Very good. Very good. All right. Now, one by one, announce the final answer. What have you got? Let me see what I have got. Second. Yeah. Yes. I want all of you to answer. Jaivarshini, what's the value of mean?
Ma'am, I have got 93.4.
93.4. Okay. I have a different value. Okay, then what about Blessy? Aniruddhan? Aragamai? Mritsa? Niveda?
Ma'am, I got
Yeah.
Ma'am, I got 4.07.
No. See, your mean value should be in this range. What are the values you have here? From 63 to 70 to 105 to 112. It should be between that. No. Then, Prenu, what's your answer?
Ma'am, working last step.
Okay. Has anyone finished? Get your answer? Okay. I'll share my screen. Please check your columns. So I have worked using all the three methods in the same table, children. So I'll just tick the columns which you need to check. You must have the class intervals column. You must have the XI column. You must have the FI column. And you must have this DI column. This one you will not have, children. You will not have this column. So now when you have to answer, you will not have this column also. Now this question is to find mean using the direct method and the assume mean method. So you can do it in one table. So see, this is the column for the direct method, FI, XI values. And this one is for the assumed mean method, FI, DI values. So you can make a table which includes all the columns like this. Now you will be like wondering what is this UI and FI UI? That is to find mean using the step deviation method, which I told you. You can ignore. So ignore this UI column and FI UI column. So now this question is to find mean using the direct method and the assume mean method, right? So you should have these columns. But I told you to do only using the assume mean method first. Okay, so in that case, you will not have, you wouldn't have prepared this column. So you can ignore this one, ignore this one, ignore this one. So you must have the class intervals, XI, FI, DI, FIDI. The totals will slightly differ. FIDI total for a different value of A. Now, this XI and FI column order is not important. You can write XI first and then FI column and then XI. Don't worry about the order. You can write anything first. So after the class intervals column, I've written the XI column. That is the class marks. Then the frequency, FI. Then I have taken 87.5. From the XI column, I have taken 87.5 as the assumed mean. And I found the deviations from the assumed mean. All right. Then the FIDI values. So you can take a screenshot of this one. Yeah, so coming to the final value, it's 88.85. You look at only this one, children. This is using the direct method, assume mean method. So when you substitute, you find mean is 88.85. And when you work it using the direct method, you will get exactly 88.85. Yeah, take a screenshot. I'll show you the previous slide again. Take a picture and complete the answer. Yeah. Yeah. So please complete this one. You have to find mean using both the methods. So please complete this. All right. Any other question, children? Anything else that I have to clarify? Okay. All right. Just a minute. I'll just stop the recording and want to say something.